chilling tales for dark nights.
Knuckle Supper. Written by Drew Stepek. Performed here by Jason Hill. Chapter 11. Mutes. I felt that I might have acted a little impulsively by crippling the Desian. At the end of the day, it should have been Des who caught the brunt of my anger. It was just like him not to show up, knowing how pissed off I was. He was always such a chicken shit when it came to facing the music. Chicken shit kid. He sent his peasants to feel my wrath rather than admit to me that he was fucking Bate. The way I looked at it, the line at that point was clearly drawn between the young and the old and the knucklers. They fucked with one of mine, and I fucked with one of theirs. The kid would eventually die. If a vampire wasn't able to feast, stalk, and kill to support their habits, they dried up. I had to face the facts. What right did Des have to live more than Bate? After all, she actually was a legitimate living creature. We just were. I opened the front door to my place and wasn't greeted with the usual slobber hose from Leroy and Skillet. I hoped Bate had taken everything I said to heart. Just then, a funny image went through my mind. Bate being pulled around Union Station by the two dumb dogs, trying desperately to purchase tickets out of Dodge for the three of them. I called out as I locked the door behind me. "Bate!" I rounded the hallway toward the bathroom. The two dogs, their tremendous bodies fully stretched across the floor, scrunched their snouts under the bathroom door. They had scratched the hell out of the white door to get in, but obviously Bate was too tied up in her web of lies to let them in. As I got closer, I noticed that both dogs were also frantically licking the floor. I wasn't shocked, nor did I find anything out of the ordinary about their behavior, as they proved earlier that they had no problem tongue-kissing my diarrhea-soaked pant leg. It was safe to say that they would drink and eat anything. I crossed my bedroom and saw her precious bath mat on the floor next to my bed, empty. "Bate, where are you?" I dropped my change and a handful of the Desian's fingertips on my dresser and proceeded back down the hall to my bathroom. Was I too hard on her? Hardly, I told myself. She put herself in danger's way from day one. Everything about her living with me and mooching off me was a lie. I looked down at the dogs before I politely knocked on the bathroom door. I slid Leroy and Skillet out of the way with the outsides of my boots. They weren't licking water or poop at all. It was blood. "Bate, what are you doing?" "Go away," she faintly huffed. I snapped the knob off and slid the door open. And there she was, sitting upright with her back against the tub. She had her pants down to her ankles, and between her legs were the remains of a smashed 2-liter bottle of Pepsi, drenched in blood. On top of the bottle was a cinder block that came from the backyard. The bathtub overflowed, funneling the mess into the mouths of the two junkyard hounds on the other side of the door. They didn't immediately run to save the day. They were far too stupid and scared. I grabbed the cinder block and heaved it down the hallway behind me, past the dogs. Instantly, I bent down to pull the bottle out of her. Blood and what appeared to be some lining from her uterus bubbled out. When it was removed, the carbonation created a chemical reaction causing a science fair explosion. "Stop!" She grabbed at the bottle, trying to reinsert it. I nabbed a bunch of towels from under the sink. "Stop what? What are you doing?" I started patting at the area, trying desperately to dam the floodgates and prevent the continual blood loss. I didn't have time to think about what she was trying to accomplish, but I was sure it wasn't a cliché teenage suicide attempt. It was beyond a cry for attention. I wrapped her body in towels like a mummy after I ripped off her pants and her drenched shirt. "Out of here!" I snapped at the dogs. They obliged and headed to the living room, knocking each other against the walls in an attempt to clinch the alpha dog position. When they got there, they peered around the corner into the hall as if they'd done something wrong. Carefully, I slid my right arm under Bate's neck. Her eyes rolled back into her head as she started choking a little bit on blood and soda that had somehow made its way up into her windpipe. My phone rang. I looked over at the toilet. It was the child molester, Des. I didn't answer it. I'd deal with him later. Don't, she pleaded, falling in and out of consciousness. Don't what, Bate? I need to get you out of here. I bridged her back. What did you do? Just let me be. What are you doing in here, Bate? I placed my left arm under her bent legs. What is all this? Her eyes floated around in their sockets as her breathing became louder and louder. She snorted through her nose and tear ducts, an alternative to the clogged passageways in her lungs. I bent her head upright and firmly pressed on her chest cavity with my palm. I pressed every 3 seconds, angling upward, trying to dislodge the congestion. After my 5th try, a bubble popped out of her mouth and the wheezing settled. At the same time, I felt the soda bottle's cap spin out of her and smack me on the knee. She began blinking furiously as her skunky hair got stuck in her eyes. Just leave! I brushed the hair clear and put my arm back under her knees. Just leave me alone, she insisted. Slowly, I lifted her up and delicately sidestepped my way out of the bathroom. What are you? What were you doing? Are you trying to kill yourself? She didn't respond immediately. I reached the bedroom and laid her out on top of my bed and covered her with my comforter. Finally, she said, Not me. It. Pico signaled me into the living room as he injected some heroin into Bate's thigh. I patted Bate on the forehead with a warm washcloth and wiped dried blood from her mouth. Are you sure we can leave her? Dragging his gimpy leg, Pico ignored the question and walked into the other room. After I made sure Bate was sleeping and breathing, I followed. I fell back into the couch, exhausted. What is that? For the previous 3 hours, we had gone through the constant ups and downs of an emergency room that consisted of Bate screaming in pain, not breathing, and hemorrhaging from every orifice on her brittle body. Luckily for Bate and me, old Pico was quite a seasoned physician. I suppose that's how he knew how to break himself in all the right spots whenever he went out on the streets to hunt. She gave herself an abortion, RJ. What? With a soda bottle and a cinder block. Yeah, I had to clean out what was left of it, but she definitely terminated the pregnancy. She almost terminated herself in the process. I was shocked. Are you serious? Where the hell did she learn to do something that stupid? Pico lit a cigarette and threw one to me. I imagine she learned it on the internet. It's pretty common for desperate kids to do dumb things like that. Or at least, contemplate it. I lit my grit off a candle I was using to try and get the smells of the day out of my house. Wait, how did she get pregnant? Oh, come on, RJ. Don't be so naive. She's a hooker. That's the thing. She told me right before I left for the meeting that she never actually hooked. Wait, is that the right word? Hooked? Well, she got pregnant somehow. She told me that she's been fucking Des and the kids to get a fix. But that couldn't get her knocked up. Pico rolled his eyes. So, that's why you crippled that little prick at the meeting. He wasn't just fucking little girls. He was fucking Bate. What's gotten into you? I like the little girl as much as you do, but you can't just go around and kill your own. She's not a pet, RJ. Our own what, Pico? What are we? Do you even know where we come from? You've been around longer than me. At least, that's what I've been led to believe. Right is right, and wrong is wrong. I told all of them that Bate was not to be killed, fucked, or fucked with. She was doing our job for us. Our job? You mean our deceit? The drugs aren't ours. They were stolen from the cops, and that means that they were the property of the Battlesnakes. I tilted my head in disbelief. And you think now is a good time to speak out against all of this? We all met and agreed we were going to give that little shit Des his chance. This was his idea, not mine. Pico dragged hard on his cigarette. You're the leader, RJ. He blew out a smoke ring. Therefore, it was your idea, and your decision as far as everyone else was concerned. I slumped back further into the couch, almost attempting to hide. I wish that none of that day. The day Linwood Perry came over and the day Des and I killed the cops and stole the heroin ever existed. As much as I hated to admit it. Pico was right. Who was I to put all of us in so much jeopardy because of some dumb human girl and an even dumber emo sidekick told me to? Nothing would ever be the same again. On top of being completely overwhelmed by the scope of everything, something still itched at the back of my neck. So, Pico. If she was only fucking the Desians, then how did she get knocked up? I mean, I think it's pretty much a known fact that we can't breed. Sure, with a little help we can get hard and come and all that, but I know we can't reproduce. It's impossible. Isn't it? Well, most people will tell you that it's impossible for us to be walking around at all. But you and I both know we exist. We think, we move, and we feel. And tell me something I don't know. All of these cherished emotions have done for me is caused me to make horrible decisions. Well, there are two possible scenarios here. Either one of Des's friends isn't a vampire, or one of them has evolved. I ashed my butt at him. Horseshit. Horseshit what? That's the only plausible explanation unless the girl is lying to you. She said something to me while I was stitching her up. Which was? She said, "You're right, RJ. The world doesn't need any more monsters." Meaning what? I never said anything like that. It means that she was definitely impregnated by one of us. To her, we're the monsters. I discounted him again with a wave. Horseshit. The world is filled with monsters. So not every one of them kills other people to get high. How far along was she? Like that even matters. She could be out hooking when I sleep. Stupid kid is probably too dumb to use condoms. He cupped his cigarette into his hand. I have no idea how far along she was. Her insides looked like a casserole. Why would she lie to you? What could she possibly achieve by getting you to cripple the Desian? She knows you have a temper. She risks getting thrown back out of the streets by telling you her secret. Ash on the floor, you cripple. It's not like this place can get any more jacked up. Pico flicked his cigarette. Anyway, one of us got the girl pregnant. Okay. Let's just say that some of us can reproduce. Wouldn't that mean that there would be some girl vampire things out there somewhere? Shit, the odds say so. Like I said, this is something new. Bate moaned from the bedroom. Pico and I both shot up and rushed down the hall, bumping each other just like Leroy and Skillet, who thankfully had been outside enjoying their meals from earlier that day. Bate was turned on her side, reaching for the bath mat that was rolled up on the floor next to the bed. Pico ran to the far side of the bed and rolled her on her back as I grabbed her hand. "I want my blanket," she exhaled. At that moment, I felt ashamed that I made a little girl sleep on a rubber bath mat while the person who raped her crashed on a bed in the bedroom next to her. I was just as much a monster as any other knuckler, vampire, gangster, or drug addict. She faded back out as Pico filled her up with more heroin. It was clear that Bate couldn't stay at my house any longer, especially after what I did to the Desian back at the garage. Good evening. This is Jason Hill, host of the Horror Hill podcast. You've been listening to a chapter from the award-winning novel Knuckle Supper by best-selling author Drew Stepek. Knuckle Supper, Ultimate Gutter Fix Edition, and its critically acclaimed sequel, Knuckle Balled, are available now from Bloodbound Books. Check out the links in the video description and sticky comments below to pick up a copy today and show your support for indie horror. Also, please consider making a donation to Children of the Night today and help end teen prostitution and human trafficking. Children of the Night is a privately funded non-profit organization established in 1979 with the specific purpose of providing intervention in the lives of children who are sexually exploited and vulnerable to, or involved in, prostitution and pornography. Visit childrenofthenight.org for more information today. From author Drew Stepek and all of us here at Chilling Tales for Dark Nights, thanks for listening and for your support.
Chilling Tales for Dark Nights.